this gentleman, Dwayne Adams, who has a program called Breaking Barriers, where he works with kids in teaching them, having them row. And I really had no idea what rowing was. I mean, to me, rowing was a club up in Connecticut that was elitist and special, and everybody wore the same clothes. That's how I looked at it, more for the affluent society, I guess you could say, where they have lovely clubs and they have beautiful restaurants and everybody sits and eats and drinks and watches these extraordinary events. Well, I wasn't satisfied with that. I needed to know more. So I started reading about rowing, and oh my gosh, did I have some epiphanies, awakenings. It's so interesting to me because so many times we look at things through our eyes, with the ears that we have, through the hearts that we have, and the knowledge that we have, and we really don't know the scope of things. Our world can be so small even when we think it's so big. And I, for one, think my world is pretty big. I think I am, containerless. However, I had no clue about the ins and the outs of rowing until I actually started reading about it, and I was amazed at what I found. So before we bring our guest on, who's going to be probably calling in because he's got some Skype issues, and some other people we have that also are ready to call in and share some of their insights, I want to show you a video about rowing. So hold on, I'm going to play the video and we'll be right back.
Rowing is like a puzzle. It's a kinetic puzzle, so you have to put all the pieces of the puzzle together and you have to do it over and over again. If you're not getting it right, it doesn't matter how hard you're rowing, you're not going to make the boat move.
There's so many of life's experiences that can be encapsulated in sports. Not just the winning and losing, but the helping someone else, seeing someone else do something extraordinary.
The image of the sport is that it's a blue blood sport, so a lot of people who don't fit into that category don't think they would be welcome.
Boathouses don't have a welcome mat. If I row here at Boathouse Row, that's my world view, and that's what I know, and that's who I see.
If we can get minorities involved in the sport now at a young age, each Olympic year we would have some qualified athletes to perform in those races. And I feel that that's what we can do. But until Boathouse Row and other organizations around the country start to see change, that won't happen.
Beautiful, huh? So one of the things that I read in doing some research which was just kind of blew my doors off, is in so many sports, in most sports I think, you have a timeout. In rowing, you have no timeout. From the moment you start to the moment you stop, you're going. And it takes brute force to keep going. And I thought that was pretty fascinating because doesn't that depict life? Except in life we take timeouts. But really, isn't that something? It takes brute force to keep going. And no matter what, you have to work through how your legs feel, how your arms feel, how your back feels. You have to work through your ego while you watch some other team getting ahead of you. There's so many lessons and characteristics and things to learn from this sport. I know Dwayne is having some issues. And I think, Faith, if you're listening, this might be a great time to call in because I know that you run a program in Delaware. So if you're listening to us now and you are available to call in, go ahead and do so. That's 919-518-9773. Faith runs a program in Delaware that she's been doing for, I believe, over 20 years. Let's see. Are we connected now? Hello?
Hello, this is Faith.
Hey, Faith, how are you doing?
Okay.
Faith, you're not only a rower, but you're a good listener. Thank you for coming on.
Okay.
So tell our listeners what exactly you do.
I'm the executive director of a youth rowing program. And what we do is basically teach youngsters starting at age 10, all the way up to age 18 to row. And these kids come from all walks of life, all areas. We have kids who are on food stamps and kids who are the children of millionaires. And they all row in the boat together. One of the beautiful things about rowing is the teamwork and the self-discipline that it takes, responsibility it takes to work out together. We have normally about 70 kids in our program. They all learn to work together. They work very, very hard. Just what you said a little while ago about the amount of effort that they have to put in. But the nice thing about rowing, we start the kids very early in our summer camps called Row For It. And those camps are for kids 10 to 13. It's in the summer. They row for a couple hours a day for 3 weeks. And I'd say 70% of the kids in the camps do not pay anything for this. We try very hard to get donations and funders to give us money so that we can operate the camps. Mm-hmm. And then kids who really enjoy it come out in the fall. It's an after-school sport. But unlike many sports where you row for your school, ours is a club. There are a lot of clubs in the United States. The West Coast basically has most of the programs are clubs. And these kids come at 3:30 and they row until 6, 5 days a week and Saturday morning. They row all fall until it gets too cold. Then they work out in the winter if they like, indoors, and then they're on the water again in the spring.
Faith, tell me, so for you, what is the fascination and the connection to this that you have? Why rowing?
Well, rowing is such a healthy sport to begin with. There are very, very few injuries in rowing. It's an easy sport to learn in the beginning because it's a repetitive sport. So you have kids. A lot of the kids that come to us are not the greatest athletes. They're not real tall, so they're not basketball players. They're not perhaps real strong, and they're cut from their football. They're not real fast, so the field hockey or the lacrosse teams have cut them. And they come to rowing, and they find this is something they can achieve relatively easily. Now, having said that, to become a really fine rower takes a lot of work and a lot of time. But it's something we do gradually. So kids can pick it up easily, and if they stick to it, and that's one of the wonderful things about rowing. We have kids that come to our competitive program at age 13 in 8th grade and stay with us until they graduate high school. So they're with us for 5 years. I have kids that have never missed a day in 5 years.
I bet they can't say the same thing about going to school.
Well, that could be. Hopefully, actually, over 90% of our kids have gone off to college. So, and rowing helps because rowing is a very big and popular sport on college campuses. And it's something that, unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about.
I don't think, and hold on one second, Faith. I think Dwayne might be on. Hold on just a second. I want you to complete. Dwayne, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
see me?
yes. Fantastic.
Thank you.
So
there is a God.
Right, you're breaking up. Nope, you're breaking up. Well, should he just call in? I think, Dwayne, you need to just call in because you're breaking up. So just use that phone number. Yeah. Faith?
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Continue what you were saying.
Well, it's a great opportunity for kids to get into college, to be recruited to college. Mm-hmm. In fact, rowing has the highest number of kids of any sport recruited to college. People don't realize this.
And why is that? I know it's the oldest collegiate sport.
That's right. But the reason is rowing, if you're on a tennis team, and I play tennis, you might have 12, 15 kids on a team. If you have a rowing team, most colleges can have as many, if you're talking about girls and guys, lightweight and heavyweight, you might have 150, 180 kids on a crew.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of room for kids to get on rowing teams. And since the equipment costs a lot of money, the boathouse costs a lot of money, you have a staff, universities are willing to recruit youngsters who know how to row to their schools. So most of our kids are recruited every year.
And you have kids from all walks of life.
We have kids literally who are on food stamps, who live in pretty dreadful areas, who by our standards and what is said to us by people in the system are considered at risk because of the neighborhoods they live in. And these kids are actively pursuing this and then go off to college.
Wow.
And if I could say one thing that absolutely drives me crazy, we would have a lot more African-American kids rowing in this country if it wasn't for their friends who look at them and say, why in the world are you in that type of sport? That's not our sport. It's not basketball. It's not football. I hear this all the time. I hear it from parents who come to me, and I hear it from the kids themselves, some of whom we've had some wonderful rowers who were with us for 2 or 3 years and then quit because they said they couldn't stand the comments from their friends who made fun of them and degraded them.
Interesting. So it's so interesting because we do the same thing in our everyday life as well. We quit based on what other people tell us. And
that's right.
So hold on just a second, Faith. Don't go anywhere. Is Dwayne, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me better?
Yes, I can. So welcome, Dwayne. Yay, Dwayne made it. How are you, Dwayne?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me. Sorry about the internet problem.
No, that's quite all right. So I want to explain, or let Faith kind of explain. You and Dwayne connected how?
We've had our program is almost 25 years old, and Dwayne's program is a little younger than ours. But he found out about us. We go up to Boathouse Row in Philadelphia to row, and we connected, and we found we were very similar. We both had the same goals in mind as far as getting kids into rowing, and he's done a wonderful job in Philadelphia.
Okay, so don't go anywhere, Faith. You're good, right? You can stay on with us?
Sure, I'm fine.
Perfect. Dwayne, welcome.
Yes.
So tell everybody who you are and about your breaking barriers.
Well, my name is Dwayne Adams. I'm a former world champion rower in the adaptive division. Because of my visual disability that happened in an accident back in 1998, I was a innocent shooting victim where I took a stray bullet sitting on my mother's steps. The bullet entered my left eye and went across my face and currently lies behind my right eye. So I have partial sight in the right eye, a prosthetic in the left with no sense of smell. And during my rehabilitation, after I was released from the hospital, someone told me about the sport of rowing. I went down to the adaptive program, which is on the west side of the river on Boathouse Row, and rowed about a mile. I loved rowing. It was just a natural for me. And from there, I just continued to get better, winning races, some second places, mostly first because of my drive to win. And when I had the opportunity to try out for the U.S. National Adaptive Team, I did. Made the team for 3 years in a row, and one of those 3 years, we came back with a bronze medal.
So you could row with, do you have one eye?
Yes, well, I'm not sure if Faith mentioned it, but, in this sport, you're going reverse. So it's not like you see where you're going exactly. Once you learn the technique and the correct skills of rowing, it's basically just rowing backwards. So no vision is necessarily really needed. So even for some of the coaches, some of the trainers is close your eyes.
And why is that? Explain that to me. Why is that?
Well, I did hear when Faith mentioned about how great the sport is. And if you look at the sport and how we're rowing in the boats, we are going backwards. The position, a quick position of how you're rowing is legs, back, and then arms. If you do it out of any of that form or technique, you'll alter the boat. The boat can easily be altered by any body movements, raising the hands too high, too low. So when you're doing the correct form, the boat will go straight on top of the rudder that you have in there, or if you have a cox who's helping you to steer the boat. And with that being said, you really don't have to look backwards. Only every so often, whoever in the bow see to direct where the boat is going.
Let me also add something. In the bigger boats, and in our program, we row mainly fours, that's 4 rowers, and a coxswain, or eights, which is 8 rowers and a coxswain in one boat, and the 8 is 60 feet long. They have a coxswain is the only person that really sees where you're going. They're steering the boat, and they're giving the commands. Everybody else is rowing, is sitting facing them, so they're actually rowing backwards. The person, the coxswain, is the only one who can steer the boat and tell where the boat is going.
So, Faith, you actually also are a rower?
Actually, I'm the only person in my family that's never rowed.
Never rowed?
No, I've run this for nearly 25 years. I can tell you a good rower from a poor rower. I do erg, which is using the rowing machine, the ergometer, but I am not on the water.
Interesting. I can't sing, but I can sure hear when something's out of note. You know, is somebody else calling in? Okay, hold on to the two of you. I have somebody else calling in. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Whoever's calling in now, if you could just walk away from the computer or turn down the computer, because we'll have a hard time hearing you.
Yes, I have. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Now who are you?
I'm Unique. I was told by Dwayne to call in at the moment. So.
Good. And what do you do, Unique?
I was part of the Breaking Barriers team back when I was in high school, but I'm currently in college at the moment.
Good for you. Well, welcome. So what was it like for you?
It was great. I was actually pretty excited to be a part of the team, and I was very excited that I was shown to a sport that I never really known about, actually, and I'm happy that Dwayne chose to come out and speak to us about it.
So what did you gain from being part of this? What did this do for you in your life?
Well, for me, I talk about rowing like all the time now because I feel as though everybody should become a rower, although I don't currently do it right now. But for me, it has definitely gave me a sense of teamwork and how to be a leader and to be calmer in different situations and just how to be a good team leader, actually.
And let me ask you something. I mean, you may not know why, but because you're part of the rowing team, but why this and not something else? Not football, basketball, volleyball. Why did this help you accomplish that, whereas some other sport may not have? What's the difference for you?
What was the difference?
Yes.
I mean, the difference was I like new challenges. So, like, I have done other sports. Like, I've done volleyball. You know, I've done other sports. But, like, being a part of something that I never knew that I could do, it was kind of different. Mm-hmm. You know, because, like, even I was listening in to Dwayne, and I lost eyesight in my left eye as well, but it was a different accident. And for this, it wasn't a sport where I wasn't judged by my teammates as to where, and I just felt like I could fit in anywhere. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty good for me.
So let me ask you something. So, you know, I'm envisioning you with your teammates as, you know, like anybody rowing. And when you say this to me and you say that they didn't judge you, I guess I'm envisioning that it doesn't matter. You each pull your weight as much as you can, and somebody picks up the extra. Because you're not all at the same ability. So but together you make a whole.
Yes, like we all have our strongest points and our weakest points. You know, some people are going to have their points where, you know, they're stronger, and that's a part of being a team, because when you come together, you make that whole. So it doesn't matter where one person is weaker, and as long as we put all that together, then that's what makes us a team. So we can pull our weight together, and we can succeed in like whatever we do, as long as our team is whole.
Wow.
You know, that's what I think.
That's very interesting. That's a really good analogy or metaphor for life, isn't it?
Yes, it definitely is.
Marilyn, it's very interesting. What she just said is absolutely true. We found kids who have told us that every sport has a star. They have the one person, the great basketball player, the great football player that everybody feeds off of. In a boat, in a crew, everyone is basically equal. No one knows who pulls a little harder or is having a little difficulty. It's the team. It's the boat that wins. It's not one individual. And it really helps self-esteem. It helps the kids understand how important it is to work together. The team wins, not that one star pulling everybody else.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, and you think to yourself, or at least I'm thinking to myself, and I hope other people out there are doing the same thing, is if you can do it in a boat, you can do it anywhere. And that's how it should be, because if you can win that way, if that's the only way to win, can you only imagine how we could handle our life if we just come together and do it?
That's right.
Good. So that's a good point. Hold on. Dwayne, did you have anything to add to that?
Well, Unique, it was good hearing from you. You're always welcome back.
Okay.
Unique, so you're in college now, honey?
Yes, I am.
And what are you majoring in, or what are you doing?
I'm doing criminal justice and psychology. I want to go to law school.
Good for you. And what did you always want to do that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I kind of did a little switch around when I was there, but I went back to what I actually wanted to do. So,
yeah. So would you have been considered an inner city kid?
Yeah.
You were?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I live in Philadelphia. I'm originally from Jamaica, but I moved here. So.
Mm-hmm. And did you maintain a lot of friendships from the team as well?
Yeah, I have. Mm-hmm. I can say I definitely have, because most of the kids that I did row with, they were from my school, and we're still friends up till today. So.
Terrific. I guess that's one sport where they really do watch your back.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've learned from listening to Dwayne also was, just the regular things like the exercise and nutrition. Was that was something you got from this as well?
Yes, actually, that was pretty good. Sometimes I wish I was still rowing, because I'll be back to my diet. I had a strict diet and had to work out and keep everything intact. But now that I'm at school and doing no sport at all, I'm kind of slacking off. So it was kind of really good to have
that guidance. So one more question to you, honey. What would you tell me? I mean, I'm like 59 years old, and maybe there's several people out there that are younger than me, older than me, my age, listening to this show. What would you tell us about rowing? I mean, is it something, obviously anybody can pick it up. What would you say as far as how it makes you feel, or the good that it can do in your life?
Well, that sport in particular, it's a sport that you have to be strong-minded. When I was listening in, you said that kids say that they quit because they're teased. For me, you have to be strong-minded. You can't really think of what other people are saying. It's a sport. And that's where it comes back to even racism and all that. It gives you physical self-esteem, everything. And with that coming from, you cannot judge anyone that is inside of a sport, whether you're Hispanic, you're Black, you're Caucasian. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. With rowing, it's one team. As the lady was saying before, when you win, it's not one individual. It's the whole team. You're all benefiting from the hard work that you have put in. Mm-hmm. So for that particular sport, I would say that it doesn't even matter how old you are either, because I've seen people that are much older that go out on the Schuylkill River and they're rowing and they're doing their thing, and it's a sport that keeps you intact with just everything, your body image. If you want to be more healthy, You know, it's just something that's well-rounded.
Those are great points, and I think one of the things that I picked up from listening to you just now, and Dwayne and Faith, I'm sure you can add to this, is there's no competition. It's not that you're better than somebody or somebody's not. I mean, it doesn't matter. When you row, you're one.
Right.
And and it doesn't matter who you are, or you're just one, and there's no competition.
Correct.
So that's terrific. Did you have something else to add, honey?
I'm excited. I about the Breaking Barriers team, and I am looking forward to be a part of it pretty soon again, to help Dwayne accomplish whatever he wants to do, and anything that he wants me to do. As long as I'm here, I'll definitely do it.
Why do you say that? Why do you want to do that?
Why would I do that?
Yeah, why would you do
that? Because I believe in what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do believe that a lot of people do differentiate people because of their skin color in that sport. You know, because, like, I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I do believe in what he's doing, and I believe that he has the best drive of anything. Like, I've heard his stories, and it even gives me a drive, because it's just for somebody to go through what he's been through. You know, it gives a drive to actually want to do that sport and help other people.
So it
makes a big difference.
Right.
In the young people in the community.
Well, to anybody. I mean, I'd like, we're going to turn it over to Dwayne, but anybody, because, anytime you've faced any kind of adversity, if you can take that adversity and turn it around to love and not to hate, turn it around to help, not to take, to give.
Right.
I mean, can you only imagine what the world could be like if more people every day of their life would take all of those things and turn it into the energy that it takes to make a difference?
Right.
So one more thing. Somebody wants to know if you have a rowing team at your school.
I'm not at my campus that I am. I go to Penn State, but I go to one of the Commonwealth campuses.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a rowing team there.
Okay. Well, let us hear from you.
I'm trying to get some ergs in.
Would you say that one more time?
I've been trying to get some ergs in. To rowing machines.
And you're at a great school. You're at Penn State. How cool is that?
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. Well, we look forward to hearing more from you. I'm gonna. You're welcome to stay on the line if you like. I want to turn it over to Dwayne for a minute for some more. Okay, so thank you. Hold on, Dwayne. You there?
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm a little choked up. I got tears in my eyes listening to Unique, the things she said about me, and that's what it's all about. I appreciate everything she said, and it shows how you can touch someone's life and the drive and the sport itself that it presents. So I'm happy. I'm blessed that I can help someone like that, and the things she's doing in college now.
And to a really great college at that. And look at what she wants to do with her life, and you had a lot to do with that. So you had a bullet, you had a robbery, you had all these things go on. They stole some of your equipment. Is that correct?
That is correct. They took all the workout equipment except the herbs and computers.
Mm-hmm. But you don't give up, do you?
No, it's not about giving up, because listening to Unique is what drives you. And Faith will tell you the same thing, even though she might not have had some of the misfortunes I had. But just seeing the light comes on in these kids' head when you present something like this, a challenge like this, and showing that you care, that's what makes you keep moving forward, and you just find a way to make it happen.
Mm. So your passion with rowing.
Yes.
So what do you see? What do you see for these kids because of rowing?
Well, I see a different way of life. You're not going to get, if you were able to get 50 kids into a rowing program, when it's all said and done, you might definitely end up with 10, 15, a small number. But the the things they pour out of this is what's more rewarding. So if you can get a kid who was on the street thinking negative and thinking there's no future for them, you get them rolling. Now they're thinking healthy about their bodies, about staying in shape, not doing drugs, smoking, violence. You're thinking of being more team-orientated. You're thinking about, you know what, I'm going to go to school now. I'm going to study harder. I'm going to be more of a better student. You know, I'm graduating from school. I'm thinking about college. If we can get them to those steps there, Breaking Barriers and myself have done what we need to do.
So you
now,
focus on...
Continue to row, that would be better.
And so you focus on, in order for, I mean, you work with these kids in nutrition, right?
Yes.
So you're giving them a full, well-rounded education on health and well-being. And they want it. They hear it, they know it's right, and they want it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So what kinds of success stories do you have? What kind of success stories can you share from any of the kids?
Well,
go ahead.
Well, Unique was talking about staying in touch with some of her teammates on Breaking Barriers, and there was one young man, Kobe. Kobe was probably 5'4", a little chubby kid, and they had him down a boat one time where he ran the boat. I think he went almost. He ended up in the dock one time, docking the boat. He almost hit the support of the bridge, and the three young ladies in the boat with him wanted to take oars off and smack him in the head because he wasn't able to bow the boat. But Kobe left and went to the Valley Forge Military Academy. And when I saw Kobe, he says, "Coach, I want you to bring the program up to Valley Forge." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, do I know you?" He said, "It's Kobe." Kobe now is probably 6'1", with very little body fat on him at all. And he tells everyone up at Valley Forge, he got this way from Breaking Barriers, and I want to bring them up to Valley Forge Military Academy to start a program up here.
That's fabulous. That's
now,
impressive.
Kobe comes from a single family home. It's just his mother, his younger sister, and himself. His mother heard about Breaking Barriers from a friend, and at the time she heard I was on Boathouse Row, I had about 15 kids on herbs, and she came upstairs. I said, "Listen, we'll fill out the papers later. Put him on the herb." And she put him on the herb, and now that's where he's at. I've had an email today inviting me back up to the Valley Forge Military Academy for the second meeting to try to start Breaking Barriers up there in the fall. So between Unique and now Kobe, it's two different stories, but the same good ending of youth coming through Breaking Barriers. And that's what I'm trying to work in collaboration with Faith with in Wilmington, Delaware.
So, Faith, you have actual water. I mean,
right.
you have different.
We're on the Christina River.
Okay, so you have different, equipment, and you have water. Now,
well, we're a boathouse right on the water. That's correct. So our kids work out on the ergometers, what Dwayne was just talking about. They work out. We have the indoor rowing tank, so everybody who comes and starts to row learns to row indoors on these tanks, which are similar if you picture a big swimming pool with a boat in the middle of it. And the advantage of that is they learn the technique with a coach right next to them, so that by the time they go on the water, they have the confidence to know that they know what they're doing. And that we keep them in the rowing tanks for a couple of days in the learning process, and then they're on the water, and they, as a result, they have a lot more confidence in what they're doing. And we have a nutritionist that comes in that gives a talk. We have someone in the drug and alcohol field who comes in to talk to kids. And it's the collaboration. We're very similar to Dwayne in that we really want to get all of these kids to work together as a crew. I have to say it warms my heart when I hear these things, because I see our kids, and as I said, they come from all walks of life. I find out that they went bowling. 18 kids in one crew went bowling one evening. the kids that didn't have a car, their parents didn't have a car, or they didn't have the money, everybody chipped in. We had a terrible flood about 2 years ago, one of the hurricanes that came through, and one of our poorer areas of Wilmington floods very easily, and they asked to evacuate the area. And the boys and girls that we had that lived in that area, and it is a poor, predominantly African-American area, every family in our crew volunteered to take them for as long as it was necessary until they could get back into their houses. And that just gives you some idea of the togetherness and the feeling of family that these kids have, because they're together every afternoon working hard.
You know, I'm sitting here and the word inspire. So there's something about this sport that inspires, and I've heard several things. There's just something I haven't heard yet. Or something I haven't experienced yet, but there's something that comes from this that inspires, and maybe it is the fact that that you know, when you're rowing, you have to, you know, you're one. I don't know. Is that what it is? Because, you know, if you had said so, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, what I was going to say is the word that the kids use often is trust. They learn when they're in the boat, if they're working hard, to trust that everybody else is working just as hard.
Ah.
And so there is this bond that forms, because at the end of a race sometimes, as you said, there's no time out or anything. At the end of a race, they're exhausted. And you see them sort of hanging over, catching their breath. And they look, and everybody else in the boat should be exhausted too, because they've all put out every ounce of effort that they can. And this is something that binds the kids together. They trust one another. They know they can depend on one another, and that they know that normally there's no one show-off or one, you know, terrific person. If the boat wins, everybody gets a medal. If it loses, they don't. But they feel good if they've really worked hard and the boat has moved well. They feel very good whether they win a medal or not.
You know, that's a beautiful, you know, out of the mouths of Babe, I was going to say, when you said that about trust, because I think the kids really nailed it. That's exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for that piece, and that's just so well said. Dwayne, Steve on our, I just want to make a comment about something that Steve said on our chat. He says, when one door closes and another opens, I guess your job in this life is to get these young kids occupied so the same thing doesn't happen to them. I admire your inner strength and will not to get a bad situation, or not to let a bad situation get the best of you. Dwayne, so based on what Faith said, do you feel the same way? Is it trust? Is it the trust?
It is trust. Here's another story for you. When I first started breaking barriers, I was working with an organization called The Bridge in Philadelphia. And these are young men who are in the program for maybe 6 months, and they're in there because they're kicked out of all types of public schools because of drugs, fighting, rape, whatever it might be. So I went there to work with the kids because they try to bridge the kids back over to a good way of life, and they thought breaking barriers would be a good connection. So when I first got with the young men, they were very wild. They didn't listen, and within a month's time, you could see a slow change in them. So I would normally go through to their facility, take pictures, show them videos of rowing, and talk. And one Hispanic young man told me that if he seen this black kid outside, he would kill him. And I asked him why. He said, because I don't like him. I said, why? He said, because I don't like him. So the end of that week, we was doing a little race. We rowed in quads, which is 4 rowers. And when we raced, each team, I put the 2 gentlemen in the boat together. Don't ask me why. Something told me to do this. So they raced. In the first 2 races, they split a race apiece. The last race, they tied. So we're outside of Boathouse Row, which is well-trafficked, rowers, joggers, everyone else. The black kid is huffing and puffing because he's exhausted from the race. And I see the Hispanic kid walking up on him, And the first thing I'm thinking is, oh my goodness, in the news there'll be kid killed another kid on Boathouse Road, a member of Breaking Barriers, yada, yada, yada. Well, the kid walked up to the black kid, put his arm on his shoulder. When the kid turned around, he said, listen, man, I got your back next time. We're going to beat them next time. And all I could think was, you know what, this program is going to work. So it is trust. Whatever the two of them had before, it changed once they got in that boat.
Well, now you're going to make me cry. And, you know, it's interesting, too, because trust is not something somebody can tell you about. It's something you have to experience. It's not something, you have to experience the trust that you have. And it has to be an experience. That's fabulous. So what does it take, Dwayne? What does it take? You don't have the same things that Faith has. You have like makeshift kind of equipment. Is that right?
Well, basically, what I've done and how it works with Faith, and I'm not trying to just come to Wilmington like I have a wrong program. This is what we're going to do. I found out that a lot of the kids, and you know this, throughout the country deals with obesity and diabetes. And kids that are not in shape, you really can't put them on the water because you have not just the fact that they might fall in the water, but you have health reasons where something can help happen to them. So I have an indoor training facility where instead of using your leg machines, bench presses, treadmills, which kids can get bored on and hurt, I call it BB Fit. And basically we're using their own body weights. We're using truck tires. I'm using battle ropes. I'm using plyo boxes. Things that's fun to the kids, but they're definitely getting a workout in. I'm teaching them the technique of rowing because that's their cardio workout. And from the things I'm teaching them and sharing with them, from there, I could pass them on to Faith, which she can take them to the competitive level. The kids are already in shape. They know the lingo of what to do in the boat. They're really well prepared for that next step. And I think that partnership right there will turn out a great number of kids. So things that's needed from Breaking Barriers, number one, I'm going to say is funding. This is a very expensive sport, and Faith will attest to that also. And funding will help go a long way from the things I'm doing, the things Faith is doing, and any other organization I might touch with. Because right now I'm also in conversation in Harrisburg with the Susquehanna Rowing Club, where they're trying to bring rowing up to Harrisburg. I spent the weekend up there with the Sean McCoy Foundation, the running back for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I partnered with them on a weekend event where I had over 150 kids, where I almost have to, I can't do it no more. We get ready to shut everything down, and they were so interested in participating and learning about rowing and breaking barriers.
So Dwayne, how many kids go through your program a year?
Since this mishap, the number has dropped, but on an average, I'm going to say around 50.
Since what happened, the numbers dropped?
The misfortune of the equipment being stolen.
Right.
That was a setback for me.
So now you can only, but now you do about 50 kids.
Well, I'm ready to do a lot more now. You know, when one door closes, another one opens. It's a great big one open. I have Faith on my side, so that's a big thing right there.
So how are you getting your equipment? How are you getting equipment now?
Well, I still have a lot of equipment. Some of the equipment that I just mentioned to you, I do have that available now. So if I was to start today at a new location, I would have all the equipment I need to start anything.
Mm-hmm. So
but with the number of kids increasing, you still need to add on to the equipment. You know, some gets old, some gets broken because you are dealing with our youth that's not used to certain equipment.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And Faith, what about you? How many kids go through your program?
Well, in the summer, we have our 3-week program has 100 kids. And then we're running 2 camps right now. The second camp, and that's for older kids, and it's a day-long, it's a week-long program, but they're there from 9 to 3. And that has 27 kids in each camp. And that's only for a week. And that's to introduce, we do a lot of introduction to rowing. In other words, let the kids see what it's like. They're on the water every day. They do a little racing among themselves. And then we try to interest them in either continuing the program or to get into competitive crew. So all told, we're looking at about 200 kids, 225 kids a year who are in the variety of programs.
Now, go ahead.
No, what I was about to say, we've gone into the school systems and we've talked. The schools are a lot of the inner city schools that have kids that are up to, say, 5th grade are really very anxious to get these kids into something so that they stay connected. In other words, at the end of 5th grade, they go to middle school there, and that's when there are a lot of problems. The kids drop out, the kids get in trouble, and the schools would really like them to latch on to something positive. And we're only blocks away from a lot of these different schools. The problem is, and I mentioned this before to you on the phone, a lot of kids can't swim. And we can't put them on the water. Our boats have never turned over. But kids walk off the dock. They talk. You know, kids are chattering, and before they know it, one kid walks off the end of the dock. Well, they have to know how to float. They have to know how to come to the surface. They have to be comfortable around water. And that's an enormous problem with a lot of these kids. One of our coaches went in and spoke at a school and asked how many kids, and spoke to the parents too, how many kids would like to come to the summer camp. And about 40 kids raised their hand. They all wanted to. We took their names, and then he happened to say, how many of you can swim? Out of that, 5 kids could swim. So you had 35 kids that would have liked to have rowed who can't swim.
So what did we do?
Well, there are programs. The WISE, U.S. Rowing, has tried very hard. I've spoken to a vice president there who's gone all over the country trying to get schools and parents to get their kids into programs. I know the local Y in Wilmington has a WaterWise program that's wonderful. And it's not going to make them Olympic champions, but they're going to learn enough about it so that they can swim a length of a swimming pool and float and do the basics.
Why is swimming, besides rowing, why is swimming so important? I mean, when you said it to me on the phone, I'm not sure why I had the reaction I had, but my stomach dropped.
Well, let me tell you something.
Tell me why, because I don't know why.
I saw a statistic recently that there are more children that drown every day than are hit by cars or in automobile accidents or get shot.
Wow.
We don't realize this. It's an enormous amount of kids every year who drown. And it's especially common in minority communities where they've never, a lot of suburban communities have swim clubs and have community swimming pools. And in a lot of inner cities, there's no opportunity. Or if there's one big pool, they really don't get a chance to have lessons or do anything of that sort.
So the summer they have a couple of days at someplace at a beach with a family member, and things happen.
That's right. Or kids, when we first started rowing, kids used to come down and jump into the river near us, and there was all kinds of debris. A boat had sunk there years before, and there were rocks. We held our breath. We would yell at them, please don't jump in. Sometimes these kids would jump in and then yell, rescue us, and we'd have to throw them life preservers. They didn't know how to, kids are fearless.
Right.
And in the Philadelphia area, Dwayne can tell you this, probably once a week there's something on the news about kids. These are teenagers, nice, bright kids who jump into the Schuylkill or the Wissahickon or the all these different creeks. And the next thing you know, there's an emergency to try to locate them, and they find the body the next day. And they ask the parents, and they say, well, they've been in the water a couple times, but they really weren't good swimmers.
And see, a lot of that is also from when they're in these neighborhood pools, they can touch the bottom. So when they jump in these rivers and creeks and lakes, they're not thinking about that. You know, that's not one of the thoughts. You just think about cooling off or having fun or something like that. And another thing that's in the city, a lot of the kids who's not able to swim, it's kind of handed down from their parents. Because if you know this, a lot of the parents don't swim, but they don't take the kids to learn to swim. You have a very small number that does teach their kids to swim, but the majority of them don't. So it's handed down from generation to generation where they just don't learn to swim. And a sport like this comes along, that's your disadvantage for them.
Susiani on our chat says it happens. The same thing is happening where she lives in the waters of Niagara Falls in Buffalo. The inner city kids are jumping in the water to cool off, and oh my God, and then rescues and tragedies every summer. We are almost out of time, so I want to make sure that you tell us what you need. So why don't you start, Faith? Is there anything you need?
We always need equipment as far as boats are concerned, and unfortunately boats are very expensive.
So how does somebody find you? How do they find you?
Well, we are Wilmington Youth Rowing Association, and you can do it easily by WYRA. We're called WYRA. And it's 500 East Front Street, Wilmington, Delaware. Easiest way is to go on www.wyra.org. That's our website. You can learn loads about us. What we really need, we charge kids to have them in our competitive crew, but we do not charge kids who are coming from the inner city and need help. We don't charge anybody who needs help, to be honest with you, from all parts of the city. So we need scholarship help because these kids really come out of this. Our kids have gone to 80 different colleges all through the United States, and it's given them self-esteem and sense of dignity and responsibility and trust, but it does cost money to operate a program like this.
I believe so, but it's so worth it, isn't it? And what about you, Dwayne? What do you need?
I need the world.
That's honest.
I need the world. I need similar to what Faith said. I really don't need boats because, like I said, I'm depending more on the indoor training. So I do need equipment, and I'm not looking at the big heavy weights, but equipment that's more non-traditional. Like I use battle ropes, truck tires, dumbbells, things that will help kids have agility and quickness and strength. And I just need America. I'm going to say it like that, America, to understand that this is a sport that's available to these youth in inner city. And they need to open their eyes and listen to the success stories that's happening with the kids who do come through Long Program, whether it's Faith's, mine, or the other one that's out there that's trying to help inner city youth. So any support that can come to Breaking Barriers, you can go to our website, www.breakingbarriers05.org. You can feel free to call me, 267-270-2769. And if you need me to come out to a school to speak to some youth about rowing and my experience or anything like that, I'm available. I'll travel anywhere. I'll do anything. If it helps put more tears in my eye for success stories, I'm available to make it happen.
Cool. We want to put tears in all of our eyes, don't we, for good. And there's work to do because we don't think of these. We don't think, until you said, Faith, about swimming, it never crossed my mind. I mean, that's the thing. Part of breaking free is opening up,
That's right.
We have to open our eyes. We have to be aware, and see what's really going on. And that's the only way anything's going to get any better is by being aware of things to be able to reach out and help. And somebody wants, Susiani wants to know if you have if there is a program in Buffalo, New York. Do you know?
Yes, there is. There's West Side Rowing Club, which I know has a youth program.
Mm-hmm. So I would suggest, I would say that if you are, wherever you're listening from, do some searches and there might be, some opportunities in your neck of the woods. But certainly,
Marilyn,
yes.
Excuse me. If they contact me, and it's very easy. It's Faith, Faith, at Wyra, WYRA.org. I will put them in touch with someone.
Perfect.
I was on the diversity committee, the U.S. Rowing Diversity Committee, so I am aware of a lot of programs.
Perfect. That makes perfect sense. Thank you very much. And I want to just mention to everybody that's listening to please tune in to our channel. We have so many cool things on. Just so you know, every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, Amnon right here has a show called Computers 2K Now. It's 9 till. They talk all things about computers, technology, software, anything techie. You want to listen to them. You want to listen to Carrie Psychic Cafe on Sundays at 8 p.m. She's amazing. Health In with Debbie Brooke is on Monday mornings at 11 a.m. She's amazing. She's a homeopath. She's brilliant. I love her to death. And then, of course, Moi at 1 o'clock. And then Lessons of Vietnam. Now, this is more like a tribute, right? It's information, and they talk about Vietnam, and so that's very fascinating. And then Julie Seibert, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. for Reawaken Your Brilliance. Our shows have meaning and depth, so tune in anytime. If you have any questions, just give me a holler. And obviously, I do also have my own private coaching practice where I see children, teens, families, couples, businesses, anybody, whether it's Skype, in person, on the phone. And then I also am available for speaking gigs. I love to motivate. And with that, Dwayne, a final word from you?
Well, I want to thank the Breaking Free Show for having me on here. I want to thank Faith for calling in. That shows you a good collaboration right there. And any young person out there that's listening to this show, or the parent that's listening to this show, call into the show, call Faith, call myself to learn more on how things can help, if not your kids, someone in your community.
Terrific. Thank you very much for that. And Faith, what about you? Any final words?
I just echo exactly what Dwayne said, and thank you very much. This was a wonderful opportunity. You have a lot of listeners, and I hope a lot of them understand the wonders of rowing. It's a terrific sport for everybody, but especially for kids.
Well, I appreciate that very much, and you're both beautiful people, and I appreciate you sharing it with us today and helping us break free just a little bit more. That's what it's all about. So everybody out there, thank you so much for tuning in today. And we will hear from you, see you next week, and break free. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Sundays, 9 a.m. till noon. Carrie's Psychic Cafe with Carrie Silkowski, Sundays, 8 till 9 p.m. Health In with Debbie Brooke, Mondays, 11 a.m. till noon. Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Mondays, 1 till 2 p.m. Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, the second and fourth Wednesday of each month from 7:30 till 8:30 p.m. Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, Wednesdays, 9 till 10 p.m. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by ThatVidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.